Today we're going to learn how to solve equations with variables on both sides. Now we've already seen 2x plus 8 is equal to 2. Now in order to solve this we added negative 8 to both sides of the equation, and the 8 and the negative 8's cancel out and we're left with 2x is equal to negative 6. When you do that, now we want to divide both sides of the equation by 2, and when you do that the 2's cancel out and we're left with x is equal to negative 3. So this becomes a little bit more complicated. Now we're going to put the x on both sides of the equation. So to solve for x, we have to put x on one side. So the first thing we want to do is just subtract both sides by x. Even though x is a variable, we're completely in our rights to do that. So when we do that, we're left with 2x minus x. Well, that's just 1x. Minus 8 is equal to, well, that becomes 0. Now it's a simple matter of adding 8 to both sides of the equation. And when you do that, x is equal to 8. So let's look at our scale example, right? We have two x's and a 3 on the left side. We have an x, a 7, and a 3. So the first thing we want to do is let's remove the 3's just because it becomes a little bit easier to solve the problem. Now you have to do it to the right side to make the equation balanced. And there we are. Now we are left with 2x is equal to x plus 7. Now we want to do the same thing. We want to remove an x from the left side of the equation and an x from the right side of the equation. So we do that, it's unbalanced. Now I have to make it balanced. And when you do that, the equation is balanced. We've isolated the x, and we finally have our answer as x is equal to 7. So let's put it straight to work, right? Here's our first example, right? 6x is equal to 4x plus 18. So we want to subtract both sides of the equation by 4x. And when you do that, you're left with 2x is equal to 18. Finally, we want to divide both sides of the equation by 2. And when you do that, you're left with 2x over 2 is equal to 2 times 9 over 2. The 2's cancel out, and we're left with x is equal to 9. So let's look at another example, right? This example, the first thing we want to do is we want to distribute the 4. So 4 times 3 minus 4 times x equals 2x. So let's isolate the x. So what we want to do now is we want to add 4x to both sides of the equation. And when you do that, you're left with 12 is equal to 6x. Now we want to divide both sides of the equation by 6. And when you do that, the 6's cancel out, and we're left with x, 2 is equal to x. We flip that around, x is equal to 2. And that's our final answer. Now we have a little bit more complicated. We're going to solve for c here, but we can't get to c without getting rid of that 5 first. So the first thing we want to do is we want to multiply both sides of the equation by 5. Now the 5's cancel, and we're left with 12 minus 4c is equal to 20c. Now we can move the c. So we add 4c to both sides of the equation, and then we're left with 12 is equal to 24c. And then we divide both sides of the equation by 24. And when you do that, the 24's on the right cancel, and then it becomes 12's cancel on the left. And we're left with 1/2 is equal to c, which is just flip it around, you get c is equal to 1/2. Now here's a little bit more complicated question. So the first thing we want to do is we want to isolate the x. So we subtract both sides by x. And when you do that, you get ax minus x plus bc is equal to a. Now you might be wondering, well, what do we do here? Well, it's ax minus 1x. Think of it if it was a was 3. If it's 3 minus 1, it's 3 minus 1. We don't know what it is, so essentially we get a minus 1 times x plus bc is equal to a. It's also the reverse of the distribution rule. So it's just the distribution rule in reverse. So now we want to isolate the x, and then we're left with a minus 1 times x is equal to a minus bc. Now we want to divide both sides of the equation by a minus 1, and when you do that, the a minus 1's cancel, and we're left with x is equal to a minus bc over a minus 1.